Adams, it's time. Let the warriors dive into the cave. This is Adam's Cave. Eves, welcome on board as well. We are always delighted when Eves drops in and we share your valuable feedback, and most importantly, when you stand by these warriors. So for our new guest, Adam's Cave is a space where we discuss matters affecting men and the people that men love so dearly and passionately. So we make sure we are so candid, concise, and clear in our conversation. I'm your host, Kissinger Keprotich, and it's always an absolute joy to have you in the cave. So our lines of engagement remain 20933 or 0717 400 555. 0717 400 555. Or just drop in a line at the comment section on our social media pages, Hop FM or Hop TV, and we'll be very, very delighted to hear from you. So we have discussed extensively the role of a father in a man's life. Either we are talking about Esau crying for a father's blessings, is there one more blessing for me, left for me, or just a check of who is enjoying the blessings, whether frequently or fraudulently received or not, but he's enjoying the blessing. So today we bring a man to have a very interesting conversation, Whispers from the West. So it's my absolute joy and delight to bring a man. He's a husband and a father. He's an author and a worship leader and an OBE. You'll love to hear that. An OBE is Mr. Muyiwa Olarewaju. And I'm happy to have you on board, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to the cave.
You managed the name. You got through the name.
Thank you. I had to practice it, but I'm sure I didn't get it as well. But hey, please introduce yourself before I massacre your name, father.
Well, no, it's funny actually. At least you tried it.
Yes.
The school I went to in the UK when I was much younger, for 6 years of my secondary school, my teachers didn't call me by my name because they were just afraid to call me by. So if you ever hear anyone call me Atom, then you know those are people who went to school with me when I was in my teens.
Yes,
because that's what they called me at school, because they just would not dare attempt the name. And actually, the funny part of it is the one that you were grappling with. That's even the user-friendly version.
Oh, is that so?
The full name actually is Muyiwa Olarewaju Sholo.
Okay.
That's the name.
How many characters are those? I don't want to imagine what you went through during when you're maybe nursery, we call it nursery school in Kenya, and you're told, write your name. I'm sure the teacher's like, no, it's not that.
Well, just put X. The child, where's child X? It's me.
But what does it have a meaning?
Yes, so Muyiwa, which its short form is Muyiwa, means God has brought this one. Adebayo, which means crown has met with joy. And Olarewaju, which is my family name, means progressive God, progressive honor, progressive wealth. Ooh. And then in Nigeria, there are many cultures. One of the main ones is the Yoruba culture. And what happens when a child is born, the elders would gather and would receive a name, what we might call in our world prophetic, for what the child is and what child will be. And mine is Isholo Morintinjugwala, which means our insurance for tomorrow, the son of an elephant that inherits great wealth.
What?
So, usually when I say that, what people hear is the great wealth part. And then I say to them, I'm the son of an elephant. That's why I struggle with my weight. So those are names. And you might be surprised to know that actually, those are few names compared to most Nigerians. Nigerians have a lot more names than that. Mine is very short compared to a lot of Nigerians.
Interesting.
It's still quite long.
Actually, I lived in Nigeria for about a year in Lagos. And one of the things that I found them was that your names actually have a meaning.
Yeah.
Every time it's a fantastic meaning. And I thought, amazing. So son of an elephant.
Absolutely. So don't try me, I'll run you over.
So how do you introduce you? You're a radio host, you're a TV host, you have about 70 million viewers almost every week. Who are you, sir?
Who am I? I'm a young, well, maybe not so young anymore, but I'm a young black gentleman from London. I am proudly a son of a follower of Jesus Christ, proudly. I'm a father of 2 boys, a husband of Lola. I do radio, So I'm station director of a Christian radio station, just like Your Hope in the UK, but it's the only commercial Christian radio station in the UK. I do TV with TPI, with Turning Points International, which I've been doing for 12 years. I'm the son of an elephant, so I struggle with my weight. I love food. And I love my scarves.
You still eat fufu, or you moved on to the West now?
Oh, no. My favorite foods, I mean, I've grown up all my life in London. My favorite foods are African foods, standard. I mean, I like Chinese food. I like British food. But if you want my heart to beat to your rhythm, African food any day, anytime.
Lots of pepper?
Oh, Chad. Let me tell you, when we got here, so the reason I'm here is TPI celebrating 25 years. So we came to Kenya to celebrate here. So I went with the producers and the team. They came from America, I came from London. We went shopping. So I decided, and when I got into a hotel room, I saw that they had a cooker. So, I'm going to cook my own food. Went to the supermarket. I bought fish. I bought a whole load of fish, and the Americans were looking at me thinking, what's wrong with you? I'm going to cook my fish, I said. And I bought some masala seasoning. Yes. But I put too much masala seasoning in my fish. I'm eating the fish. My brother, I went to the toilet the next day. There was fire somewhere. Jesus. So I like pepper, but the masala was
a bit too much.
Was teaching me some lessons.
No, glad. I'm sure hope your experience in Kenya will be great. And to be here, I hope you have got lots of very nice food as well. I hope you really got to enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's been great so far. The people have been warm. And it's been such a joy meeting people who I would never, honestly, even though you hear, TPI, 70 million people, you just don't visualize it. So I got to the airport and one of the army men looked at me and says, "Are you on TV?" I said, "Yes, sir." Said, "Muyiwa." Yes, sir. So, and then, going into your streets and even coming here, meeting people who've either used to watch TPI or still watch it. And it's such a joy, and it's an encouragement, really.
It's true. Listen, in Kenya, most guys watch TPI. I think the stories you share there are amazing, and you're really doing a beautiful job. We've had an opportunity to partner with CBN here, and amazing response.
No, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your partnership. And I have to say, those stories really are down to the producers who they go through reams and reams of stuff just to find the right story that would be a blessing to Kenya, South Africa, all the other places around the world that TPI is shown.
Talking about stories, I listened to one of your stories. I think it was something to do with peace in the wilderness or something. Amazing story. So I got a snippet of who you are, the son of an elephant. And that was an amazing story. We do want to share a bit of it, especially the part you talked about you now moving to the UK and going through that experience.
So, the honest truth is that interview, I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember everything that I said. So you may need to help guide me. But really, I was probably 9 years old when I was sent back to the UK. And I remember the last conversation that I had with my father, Muyiwa Olarewaju. I call him the giant of my life, even though, physically, when I look at pictures now, I'm much bigger than him.
Oh, is that so?
But in my mind, and here is the fascinating thing, and this is a man's mind. Even though the facts I have let me know that I'm bigger than this man, yet in my imagination and my memories of him, he is this great big giant in my mind. And so I remember speaking to him, and he called me before I traveled, and he said to me, "Remember whose son you are." And he gave me Psalm 27, and which is why when I get on stage to sing, I read that psalm a lot. And also, actually, that moment with my dad is what I captured, because people see me wearing scarves a lot, and wonder why I wear scarves, and that's because of that. Because that moment for me signified my dad giving me something that I could walk with, to remind myself of who I was and who he is. And I captured that in a song called Ekoile, which you can check out online. But I moved to the UK, and it was a cultural shock because here I was, middle class kid, gone to private schools in a safe environment. I moved into a harsh environment. First, the cold of London was. Listen, I'm traveling around Nairobi. I'm wearing my t-shirt and shorts, and I see people wearing jackets and scarves, and I'm thinking, where is the cold? Because the cold in London is disabling, and it hit me upside my head. And then I saw people who, I'll be walking the streets and say hello to people, and they look at you like you're mad. What are you doing? So all that I went through, and not having parents around you, it became a deep, dark hole of bad experiences, of depression, of economic downturn for me. And now, don't forget, I'm a 9-year-old, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, going through all that.
When you went to the UK?
Yeah, I was, at those ages of 12, 13, I was going to school and working. It's illegal to work at that age, but because I was a bigger boy, I was working. I was washing pots that were bigger than me because around about the same time, Nigeria had hit a bad economic time. And funny enough, it's the same president that's in now that was that then, when my parents' economy just collapsed. And so they couldn't support the way they would have wanted to. And that affected me negatively. And it had an impact on me as a man. And I remember the point where I would cry. And I remember a family had adopted me, a church family had adopted me. And I was staying with them. And one day I was crying, and the father, Pastor Akinde, he heard me crying. And he called me to talk to me, and he says, haven't I been a good enough father to you? And he had been. And that made me cry even more, because this man had tried. But, I wanted my own dad. But years later, as a father, I understand the heartbreak my father must have gone through, because no father ever wants to have their child and just release their child to the vicissitudes of the world, for them to be crushed. No father, no father in their right mind, at least. So I remember when I had my own children, I thought, it must have been heartbreaking for my dad. And I remember a letter he wrote to me, where because I'd written to say, I would love to see him and find out why all this. And he wrote back to say how he longed for me, and how, he wished things could have been different. And when I remember now those letters, I think, wow, because my dad, like most men, wasn't a talker. People will think I'm a talker because I'm talking so much now, but off camera, I just sit by the corner by myself. So when my father will call London, it'll be, hello, son. Hello, dad. How are you? Fine. How's school? Fine. How are your friends? Fine. Hold on for your mum. That was it. So yeah, so it's that period of life was traumatic. It was traumatic, and it's sometimes still get triggered by seeing some things or hearing some things now. Yeah.
Interesting. When you say dramatic, I'm trying to reconcile that, because I know how successful you're becoming in the UK. We celebrate you. Last week is about a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the Queen and losing her and people mourning her. And I know that was a different experience for you, because you have a very close relationship being an OBE. Maybe you can explain what OBE and how did you get that title?
So I wouldn't say very close. I'm closer than most people.
Yes.
Having met her a few times. So Her Majesty the Queen, all her life, and now King Charles III, when it's his birthday, or a particular moment in the calendar would honor some people in society, a few people who have made an impact, whether in the world of finance or the arts, or there'll be a small group of people each year that will be honored, and the categories are different honors. At the very bottom, sort of, is BMEs, and then there is the MBEs, and then the OBs and the CBEs at the top of the tree. And I got awarded an OBE for services to music. And for me, what makes it significant was in the history of the awards in the UK. Now, the awards have been going since the 18th or 19th century. There's never been one OBE given to a Christian musician.
Wow.
MBs, yes, and all that, but at least in the 20th century that we're in, or 21st century, one hasn't been given. So I was the first one to get it, and to be a Black African boy who's come from where I've just described was amazing, and for some people it means you're part of the establishment, so they'll throw stones at you. But for me, to think my mum, Shola Olatunde Olarewaju, she would have, what we call in Africa, rolled for God. She would have rolled on the floor.
Yes.
And so I'm real proud to have been honored that way. And it was even more special because it was really started by the secular music industry. It wasn't the gospel music or Christian music industry that put my name forward. It was the secular music industry that put my name forward. And for Her Majesty to agree was amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank
you. Honor you. I think listening to that, I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe that story coming out. But let's just go back to your dad again. But no, before you go to your father, any one of the songs that you love, and maybe the lyrics or something. Let's celebrate you as well.
So there are loads of songs. I mean, a lot of the songs I love are songs that I've written myself. But there's one particular which I was saying to you earlier on. It's by a group called the Winans. The Winans are legendary in terms of gospel music. And actually, just the day before I came here, we had a concert in London. It was BB Winans and his brother Marvin, who's in the group that sang this song I'm talking about. Karen Clark Shared, Bashawn Mitchell. I mean, it was the greats, And Marvin Winans, who is something of a patriarch in terms of the Winans family. Him and his brothers have this song, which for me is I think it speaks of who I am and what my hopes and dreams are. The words say this: if I can just make it up there, if I can walk the streets fair and something, and then it says, there'll probably be 1,000 things I want to ask the Lord on that day. On that day, I'll just begin to cry. God, will wipe the tears from my eyes. I'll say thanks. And he'll ask why. This will be my reply. Lord, millions didn't make it. I'm one of the ones who did. And for me, that's a favorite because it tells of how I feel about salvation and the opportunity to know God, that there are millions who don't know him, don't know this shalom that I have, who don't know the peace that I have, who won't make it to this place of hope, but I'm one of those who did. That's a favorite of mine.
Wow. Yeah. Amen. I can see the passion in your eye as you speak about that experience. You want to speak to a man, any Adam or Eve who could just be listening to you, and we here celebrating you for being an OBE, holding one of the highest titles, yet you have such a personal experience with God and connect. Could you just speak to someone like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know where you're at the moment. You may be, you've been working hard to try and get a particular position at work, and you've gotten it, and you feel empty. My brother, the emptiness you feel is not going to be fulfilled by that lady who you think makes you happy, whilst your wife, you think all she's doing is giving you a headache. The emptiness you feel is not because of domestic challenges. It's not because of the money that you don't have. And even for you, my sister, that it's not because your husband's not making you happy, or that you don't have a husband, or that you don't have a job. It's what we call a God-shaped hole that's inside of you, and only He can fill that hole. Who is He? Jesus. And you might think, that sounds so simplistic. Well, let me tell you, I've had the opportunity to meet heads of states. I've met Her Majesty the Queen. I'm honored by her. I've had the opportunity to sing in massive stages, and to do some of the things that many of us dream of as children. But the one thing that I know is the place of solace, the place of completeness, is being in Jesus and having Jesus. And it's really that simple. I double dare you, try it. If it doesn't work for you, find me on social media and abuse me publicly, and I will apologize to you, not just privately, publicly. I will tell you, tell me, I tried the Jesus thing, Muyiwa, it doesn't work, you're a liar. I'll be like, hit me on social media, try it and tell me whether it doesn't work. That's my challenge to you.
Amen. Son of an elephant. I see that. No, thank you so much for that inspiration. Allow me, because you're in Adam's cave, just to take you back to your dad.
Yeah.
There's something you mentioned that was so profound. Remember who you are. Remember who you belonged. What was that about?
So in many African cultures, the son is the right hand of strength. The son is the cornerstone, especially the first son is the cornerstone. And one of the things that's clear, and it's interesting, because in the African culture, it's clear that your identity as a son is important. But also, actually, the Bible makes it clear your identity as a son is, which is why when Jesus was being baptized, the first thing we hear God saying of, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. His identity was clear. So my father was just saying to me, you're about to go into a terrain. And because he's older, he understood what was about to hit me. Because for men, and there are young men who would experience this, or who experience this already, you get into a world and you're hit by images of what you should be. You're hit by images of what is expected of you. You're hit by images of what you failed to be. And all that eats away at your sense of being. And so many spend hours trying to be like the guy they saw on Instagram.
Yes.
Not knowing that guy isn't real. He's just putting up a front. Many look at our politicians and think, okay, because they have power and they're able to do whatever they want, that's what I want to be. And they start on this empty journey of grabbing for power, only to find out it's empty. Many think, okay, I want to be like Didier Drogba because, he makes so much money. If I have money, everything is fine. And get money and find it's empty. So when my father said, remember who you are, he was telling me, remember that you are, because he'd always tell me when I was younger that, remember you are an Olarewaju, you are my son. And here's the funny thing, he would tell me, you have been called to serve God. Now, my mother used to complain about my dad's spirituality. She thought he was unspiritual. And a lot of men find that their women or their wives would always complain, just be more like, be more like my pastor, But the man was deeply spiritual, is my father, that he saw the future. You say to me, I'm going to build you a church so you can pastor. And this is the man that they thought was not spiritual, who actually, in the end, what got him killed was serving God, because he was assassinated by Muslims who said they were serving God because he was doing a lot of work for the mission. And they told him if he didn't stop, he would be killed. But my father's mantra was, for me to live is Christ, to die is a gain. And so when they hired someone to kill him, who was actually a young man that my dad had taken off the street and was living with my parents, he was the one they thought, okay, that's good enough to get close to him. He shot my dad. And my dad, yeah, you know, that's it. I remember seeing the picture of my dad's body, and whoo, it was harrowing. And I remember my mum saying, you see where he fell? Because when they looked at the bullet and everything, it wasn't instant. He didn't die. My mum said he could have got up, and there's a protocol that my mum had. He could have followed that. He said, your dad decided to lay down. So for him, his words were true. For him to live was Christ, to die was a gain, you know.
Wow. A couple of things in your story. And thank you so much for sharing your story, because that's really authentic. But it's something you mentioned about your father. He was a Muslim before, when he prophesied on your life and said, look, I'll build your church. Was he
he grew up as a Muslim.
Yes.
By the time he's talking those things to me, he was a Christian.
He was a Christian.
He became a Christian when he married my mum. And my mum tells a story how she taught him how to kneel down and pray. So by then he was a Christian, but he wasn't the Magada Kasha Bragada Mika Saka type. We were Anglicans.
Yes.
We were Church of England, and but he was one who served the Lord with gladness. So he worked with people like Benson Idahosa, people like the current Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria president, Bishop Walioke. He worked closely with them. But he wasn't the type of Christian, visible Christian that my mum thought he ought to be. She always thought he was lukewarm, you know. And you know, I get it. I totally understand it, because there's a socialization that we have in church, where if you look a certain way, you sound a certain way, you talk a certain way, you're perceived as spiritual. But you know, when you mature in God, you understand the things of mysterium, the mysteries of God. You understand that it's not in the eating or drinking. It's not just in the fancy words. Yeah, it's deeper than that.
And look at you. You got a church of over 70 million viewers. What amazing prophecy. But let me ask you, for you, you must have had a relationship or interaction with this young man that you brought to your family, who ends up killing your dad. How was that?
So I didn't know him. I knew of him. And I remember when I got a call, not long after my dad had passed, this was before they buried him, I got a call saying, the police have found him. What should they do? Now, for those who are not familiar, Nigeria, like a few other African countries, is where countries where if you have influence, stuff can happen.
Okay.
If because we have influence and that horrid thing had been done, I could have said,
take him out.
Yeah, get rid of him. But I thought to myself, he's done what he came to do. I mean, what does taking him out do? For me, I didn't see any point. He has achieved what he came to achieve. Let him go and let the Lord deal with him as it sees fit. And so that was it. And honestly, I never thought about him again. The only time he comes to my mind is when I get asked about it. I don't know where he is. I don't know what's happened to him. I mean, I hope he found the Lord, but you know, all he did was open the door for my dad to enter into his eternity. And I wished my father was around to enjoy some of the things, to you know, to stand with his friends at the Rotary Club and say, "My son is an OBE," because that means a lot to us Nigerians, you see.
Yes.
But he's doing better. He's standing with the crowd of witnesses, and seeing not just that his son is an OBE, but that black boy there is a light in darkness, and that's one of mine, And I think that's a lot more special to him, I think. But I'll find out when I get there.
No, I'm just listening to you and wondering, how does Adam come to a place of forgiving someone the way you have done? Because I think you mentioned that at that point, I think your dad was writing a letter to you.
So it's interesting,
Yeah.
and thanks for reminding me of that, actually, because when his body was found, and so of course they start gathering stuff. The bishop who I mentioned, Bishop Walioke, who was one of the ones my father served and worked with, they'd found a letter. So my father was actually writing a letter to me when the young man called him to come outside, and they refused to let me read the letter. They refused to let, and I was like, "What's wrong?" Because in my family, I've got 2 older sisters and then a younger brother. In my family, they think I'm the softest one, the one that would cry, the one that has a soft heart. So they didn't want to traumatize. I was already traumatized enough, But for me, when I think about it, I still want to see what the old man was writing. And then I found out what he was writing, talking about his longing to see his son. And that does something to you, because you think, the man I've always wanted to see, and I had so many questions. And then when you become a father yourself, you realize, I can't imagine being separated from my sons. Oluwaloni Chibueze and Oluwagbemileke Chinomso, and they got long names like me too. And I can't imagine being separated from them. And the moment that they made a decision, they're going to see me, I'm yanked away from them. I can't imagine how that would feel for them, and even for me. And that's what I experienced. It was, and like I said, it was traumatic. But when you know God, it's a helpful thing for you to know yourself. You become aware of who you really are. So some of these things, some of the scars you have, begin to wash away to use our terms, in the presence of God. So if you as a man, if you're finding it difficult to erase certain memories, you'll find it difficult to show love the way you want to, because you're afraid that you might be let down again. You're finding it difficult to admit to those around you that you're dealing with the effects of HIV/AIDS and stuff like that. The closer you get to Jesus, and it's a simple thing. It's not as complicated as what you might think the preacher made it. It's a simple thing. It's as simple as you stop and you say, "Jesus, I'm done. Please help me." And I guarantee you, he would help. It will be a phone call that comes. It will be someone that would give something would come your way. And most men, it's difficult to reach out for help, which is why, it's great what Hope as a ministry does and what CBN does. And there is so much help available as a man. And it doesn't matter what it is. There are men who right now thinking of suicide, but no one would know because the tie is straight and the suit is nice, the car is nice, but they've run up a debt that they're covering their tracks with. Pick up the phone and call Hope. Pick up the phone and call CBN. Your business is not going to be spread. And that call introduces you to a Jesus who then begins to wash the pain away. it becomes easier to forgive and easier to move forward. But you have to. They tell you in conflict management that the first step of managing conflict or sorting conflict is admitting that we have a problem. If you don't admit you have a problem, we're not moving forward. So, my brother, getting another loan is not going to solve the problem. Getting another side chick ain't going to solve a problem. She's going to run up your bill even more. You know, another bottle is not going to solve the problem. Going to London is not going to solve the problem. You are going to get headache at immigration, in the traffic, and when you get to the clinic you're going. Cry unto Jesus, man. Simple. Pick up the phone. Hello, I've got a problem. And there are people who are trained not only to talk you through, but also to pray for you.
Could you please pray for them? I can feel like there are many Adams and Eves who could be struggling with unforgiveness and bitterness. And hearing your story, being able to forgive someone who kills a person who is your hero, I mean, that's an amazing story. Yeah. Please pray for them and just speak to them.
Yeah. So here is the thing. You know, I'm not going to try and spiritualize it and say fancy church words because you've heard them enough. I'm not going to tell you it's around the corner, shout 5 times. Those are cool things. Those are fine. I'm going to tell you, if you are dissatisfied with where you are now, you have tried it. You've tried the drink. You've tried the money. You've tried the gambling. You've tried the girls. You've tried the connections, the politicians, and it still hasn't. You are still sitting there heartbroken and you've got a rumble of discontent in your stomach. Let me introduce you to Jesus, the Prince of Peace. I guarantee you, once you invite him in, you will feel peace, what we call shalom. And it means nothing broken, nothing missing. Say these words after me. If you're ready for that peace, you're ready for that pain that's gnawing at you where you can't sleep, you're ready to let it go, say these words after me. Lord Jesus, I confess that you died for me. Forgive me for walking away each time you've reached out to me. I want to experience what this young man is talking about. Jesus, forgive me my sins. Thank you for dying for me. Come into my life today. Amen. And Father, I pray for my brother and my sister who have said this prayer. You are the miracle working God. You are the one that can do what no man can do for them. And so we ask you by the reason of the covenant of blood, we ask you to do what you set to do in their lives, that which no man can do, the miracle of sight, the miracle of peace, the miracle of joy, the miracle of a new beginning. I pray that the phone call they've been waiting for, which tells them that you are the real God, comes through. I pray that they experience that which tells them and lets them know that you are the way, the truth, and life, what no man can do for them. Thank you for that. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us to see behind the OBE, because behind this great man, son of an elephant, who have achieved so much in sharing your story.
Thank you.
Do you have any parting shot, any whisper, lessons learned from your father, or some of the lessons you just want to talk about to men, or to talk to men that they need to improve on their relationship with their children?
So my main thing, actually, I'll stop where I just prayed.
Yes.
Let Jesus in.
Amen.
Let Jesus in. There's so much more I could say. You could tell already. I could Muyi was loquacious to the core. I could talk till I'm blue in the face. Well, I'm already blue in the face, sort of black. But all I would say to you, my brother, is the relationship with your child that you want to improve, and you're afraid of how it's going to go or how it's not going, even the relationship with your wife, the relationship with your friends, you're feeling lost in the middle of a crowd and you've got friends. The only way forward, whether it's your child, your spouse, your girlfriend, your family, your parents. The only way forward is let Jesus in. And it's real simple. I'm telling you, real simple. That prayer we just prayed now. And if you still trying to figure out how do I do that, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, call Hope, call CBN. You know, and like I said, if it doesn't work for you, call me out on social media. I'll apologize to you.
Sir, thank you. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
Thank you for laying your chest bare so that you can see behind this great man, this OB. I mean, that's a title many of us can only dream of.
Thank you.
But you got it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And for those who want to connect, TPI, the TV show, you can go to tpizone.com and subscribe, and you'll get to be able to talk to me and the team. You'll get content you don't get to see on TV. You can ask questions. We can connect, and also look out for some music from me in the month of October, and keep us in your prayers. Keep us in your prayers. But above all, try Jesus. And if you say it doesn't work, call me out. I'll apologize to you.
Wow, I love the challenge. Adams and Eves, thank you for being part of this conversation. We call it Whispers because there are so many nuggets drawn from real life experience, drawn from lessons that sometimes you may not want to go through it. So continue to engage us as well on 20933 or 0717 400 555. Or just go to your YouTube pages and continue to put in your comments. Now it's time to leave the cave, and we want to wish you a beautiful time. And as we always say, this is the only station in the world where we proclaim that you can look and live, or listen and live. Have a great week and give life to sound.